Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for our big stories. Ghana is 65. We all know that. And that means a lot. If Ghana were to be human, she would have been on pension, enjoying pension benefits by now. But we want to talk about all of that. Ghana beyond politics. How do we refine our politics from our day-to-day activities so we can make Ghana truly better? Join us as we interact with some fine brains. Joining us for the conversation, Dr. Edward Amakye. He is a political scientist at the KNUST Development Initiatives, and Hadi Yakubu, Fighter General, Economic Fighters League. Later, we'll also be talking about the MPP's polling station elections, infighting, and all of that. Our focus will be on Manhyia North, where some constituency executives are determined to disrupt the election till their demands are met. We'll be interacting with, also join us with your thoughts on social media with the hashtag AMShow. Let's get to our guests now, and let me say a very good morning to Dr. Amakye, Mr. Derry, and Mr. Yakubu. A very good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
Okay, I'm awaiting a third person to say good morning. Right. Thank you so much for connecting. As we start this conversation on Ghana, I just want your quick reflection on Ghana 65 years on. And I have said 3 times already, I'll say it again. I watched a short clip of Ghana's first independence anniversary and the sort of things we had to celebrate. And I look at Ghana, another 64 years added, so 65. And what we're looking at currently, where we find ourselves in terms of energy, in terms of the economy, in terms of governance, in terms of leaders, in terms of democracy, and how well we are faring. I'll start with you, Dr. Amakye.
Okay, let me say good morning again to you and to your cherished viewers, listeners, and colleagues on the program. Ben, I'm Kwesi Amakye Boateng. I'm not Edward.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the correction. Kwesi Amakye Boateng. Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Ben, let me look at it this way. You see, a country, and the Constitution specifies the political system, the system of government it is putting in place. And by talking about the Constitution, the understanding is that we have a consensus around the provisions in the Constitution and generally the citizenry, society at large. You know, political scientists argue that you won't get 100% support for the Constitution. It is likely you will have between 20-25% of, people, particular system of government you have put in place. And the argument is that this is the basic thing that should be in place before you can proceed to talk about sustained economic growth and social development. Now, let's take a look at Ghana. From the time of independence to date, Ghana has tried on 4 occasions, including the military, will accept and come to terms with the fact that we need these basic institutions and structures in place to build on it, to generate economic growth, and also to embark on social development, to affect the lives of our citizens. We need, including members of the military. So in Ghana's 65 years, Ghana spent several of them doing what I call a merry-go-round, not understanding itself, not knowing what to do. I'm saying this because we're talking about development. So any talk about coup d'etat will have to be placed in this context, that we are rolling back every gains. We are rolling back every gain. So if Ghana, because it is this support from citizens, especially the elites, that render the state legitimate on the basis of which we can work. So once we don't have this in place, let's forget about development. So
where we find ourselves now, I mean, How would you describe it, the picture of it? Because it appears while you speak for the Democrat, we've not done what we should have done or could have done as a people. So what exactly then are you trying to state?
No, there's, basically, one thought that at least we have to understand a semblance of hope that something is working. We have one leg.
Do you see that hope? Do you see that hope?
Development.
Do you see that hope?
With various elections, the outcome, our ability to resolve our differences that come out of the elections,
right?
Our ability to proceed in spite of the fact that some believe that, look, but let's proceed, let's move on. At least on 2 occasions, we experienced something like this, 2012, 2020. So if these developments unfold and we go beyond them, then ordinarily you want the politics leg of the development. They need to render the Ghanaian state legitimate by deciding to work with an agreed-on system of government, democratic governance. If this is indeed, I'm linking this to Professor Tugube's speech and his paper.
Right.
It is problematic. The answer to bad governance in a democracy, mismanagement B. It is never so. A coup d'etat reverses everything, gain achieved. So it should never enter into our mind. The reason is this. I started by saying that you are not going to get 100% of your citizens to support any system of government, meaning that at any material, whether it is functioning or not, it is for self-serving purposes. And let's take a glance back. The coup d'etats that have really occurred in Ghana, none of them came with a well-worked-out agenda.
I am tempted to ask if the right things are being done, would anybody contemplate a coup d'etat? But just before you even come in there, nobody wants that. Let's just make it clear that in addressing what Professor Tuguba said, we put it in its right context. He prefaced everything he said with the fact that no one wants a coup. Nobody wants that. It is useless. People in administration now have referred to the Arab Spring. Just as in the Arab Spring, certain issues led a man to self-immolation, set himself on fire, which devolved into subsequent actions that led to some leaders exiting power. When you have the right ingredients, like economic failure, like extreme harm, you're an academic. How do you see it?
It is not necessarily a suggestion. At the same time, it could be. It is not necessarily a suggestion. At the same time, it could be simply because at any moment in time in the life of any state, there are some people who look for crevices to take advantage of opportunities to really ever happen to Ghana, came with any well-worked-out agenda to develop Ghana. None of them.
Right.
None of them, zero. And Africa has no record of the military bringing development to any country. So we can't think of, anyone contemplating that. It shouldn't be part of the conversation. Okay. It's not necessarily prefixing with anything. It could be even an opportunity or a signal to some people giving any grounds, justification for anything. The Arab Spring notwithstanding, what happened there? We don't need to really keep this as part of the conversation. We are not making progress in Ghana as a country. Right. We are still marking time. We have not agreed on a system. Don't support it. They don't support the democratic system that we have in place.
And that leads to my next
behavior of people in government.
Right. And that leads to my next question, which I'm going to address to Mr. Derry, who is with the Center for Development Initiatives. It is Dr. Arthur Kennedy that I heard on Newsfile making this comment about the fact that, and again, I stand corrected if he wasn't the one, so that, yes, we practice democracy, but it's the bare minimum of democracy. Oh, freedom of speech. Even that is an issue that we're talking about now. The very basics. Oh, we go to the ballot every 4 years and vote. Oh, we do this and that. We're democratic. But what democracy ruled by the people, should be delivering, we are not getting. What is your take on that as we even talk about 65 years of national life, Mr. Berry?
Okay, thank you for attention. But that's a political science. It's on point. Yes, for me, talking as a social worker, number one, as a development person who have been around, I'm not too old, I'm also not too young. I will say that indeed, democracy is meaningless unless it is linked to the bread and butter issues of the people.
I would like you to go over that. I'd like you to go over that. Very important.
I'm saying that democracy is meaningless unless it is linked to the bread and butter matters of the ordinary person.
Right.
It is meaningless unless it carries everyone along, particularly the vulnerable, the excluded, children, women, who constitute the majority of our population.
Right.
Democracy is meaningless until in our quest is linked to ensuring that in our processes of development, I will also be mindful to say that, yes, 65 years down the line, as Dr. Mache have rightly pointed out, a chunk of those years have been spent trying and experimenting with the military. But one thing we should also not gloss over is the fact that we have peace. And let me say, peace is not the absence of violence. Peace is not across the country to the extent that the military will have an opportunity to step in. I'm saying this because I have been very privileged to play a key role within the UN system to set up the Ivorian refugee camps in the Western region. My brother, I listened to over 5,000 of them that were resettled in these camps in an attempt to profile and help them to rebuild, to reconstruct and rebuild their life in a foreign. What they were doing proud to that unfortunate incident, you cannot help than to say, Ghana, we are blessed. But that is not to say we are not having challenges. So at Kennedy's assertion, for me, I will not and bottom up issues of the ordinary people are catered for. And that is where we should be focusing our democracy. Because democracy indeed is not just about, okay, we've gone for election, this party has X number of parliamentarians, this one has X number of parliamentarians, we are selecting a speaker, there is chaos, and eventually we have settled it. That, to me, is good. Those are the democratic processes. Those are the democratic unless they are linked to the bread and butter issue. And that brings me to the point that to what extent over the years have we been able to carve out social programs that are able to ensure that the people that are left behind, the vulnerable, are included. My brother, you know what? You and I, the dependency rate of ratio will come and bite you. I take care of my extended family system. But when there are systems and policy in place to cushion me and cushion them, the rate at which they are depending on me will reduce. I will have more disposable income at my economic growth. And for me, that is what we should be looking at.
Tell me, Mr. Derry, when you contemplate all of the matters arising, I mean, I don't want to talk about the increment of petroleum products and all of that. There are things we are all facing. There are global issues to deal with. There's COVID-19, there's economic crunching here and there. But on the back of all of what you've said, when you contemplate this basket, cool to do what? What is your understanding of that? Doc has shared his thoughts on it. Is it that when people talk about it, they are saying, look, we don't want this, but if you don't do the right things, we could get there? Or is it that by talking about it, people want us to get there? Where do you stand on that?
Make it to reflect on what we have done to us as a country.
But it is our reality, right? Just a minute. It is our reality. We have a checkered political history. Like Doc pointed out, it is part of our historical narrative. We can't take it out. And again, it's going on all around us. I mean, is that not our reality? Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea?
But is that the best option for us with this enterprise called Ghana? Is how divided and how polarized we are. And it doesn't have to do with whether NPP or NDC, but we've become more polarized and more partisan to the extent that, for instance, people will be those who have issues with the administration. A lot of media houses. If I have monitored some of the media houses, and now the narrative now they are trying to unpack the statement and trying to look at what happened, what were the antecedents, what were some of the precursors to the various coup d'etats that took place, and then all that. We will always have problems. For me, if you ask me as a development person, and more importantly, like someone who have seen, like just mentioned, the Ivorian refugees, my brother, people who are in well-established, the alien, like you and I, are part of those people we call refugees today. And we know how it all started. So for me, I will not want to associate myself, use it, and to make sure that whoever need to take a cue and maybe begin to look at the issues that are coming relative to the narratives. They sit up and then see what can we do. But the bottom line is that as a country, our resource envelope is constraining. We are not paying, a lot of us are not paying taxes. And for me, sometimes I always say the lawyer artisan, these masons, these talents, when he finished, he paid them about 1,500. They are not paying tax on that. And they are the people who are, some of them are part of those who are saying that, and are mining a day or mining a day. How do we broaden the tax net to be able to bring in all this into the tax net? We should forget about even social interventions. Our flagship social interventions that I'm talking about, talk about the LEAP, talk about the school feeding program. To a very large extent, some of them are funded on loans.
Okay, and Hadi Yakubu, just an add-on to what most people would say. Yes, the taxes, we all agree, all of us should be paying more. Some of us are hit right from the bank account when our salaries, drop. But other people would also tell you, yeah, but even what taxes they are taking now. What Hadi, your brother, I think, just joking, on Facebook, Sadiq Yakubu says, all these issues come up because we have poor leadership in Ghana. Both NDC and MPP sat. When? Poor leaders that make the youth suffer in Ghana, the poor people suffer more in Ghana. Why? For you, Hadi, with the Economic Fighters League in this enterprise.
Yeah, Ben, thank you very much. And thank you also to the two panelists who have come before me. I think they have spoken very well. I like the point about the fact that democracy is meaningless unless it is linked with, I would say, borrowing, replace bread and butter with maybe cocoa and kosher or kenke and fish. But the point remains that these are the main issues. Democracy should not be just about voting. I do, however, disagree with the last point that was made about the fact that to buy food, on that food they pay tax. They are going to pay money for transport.
Then I mean income tax. Income tax, so not indirect.
Ghanaians are paying taxes, and it is about how those taxes are being used. I think we can't just talk about. We need to be talking about how those taxes are being used, and that brings me to the question that you've asked, Ben, as to how we've done. And when I look as a young person at the country that witnessed the independence of Ghana, I see basically two Ghanas. I see a Ghana that at the independence they were very, very hopeful, and I see a Ghana where citizens were very appreciative of yokes of colonialism. Citizens were very happy to contribute to the development of the country because they could see a vision, a leadership that had established a vision for them, and a vision that could take our country to where we wanted it to be. Different Ghana from what they tell me they experienced or what they had hoped for. And it is a Ghana that is basically visionless. There is basically, I mean, if you
are you suggesting, Hadi, that our leaders who
man, stop any 10 people on the streets of Accra or any town for that matter and ask them, what is the vision of Ghana? What is the vision? Where are we going? Today, I don't know what vision has been established for Ghana. I hear slogans, Ghana Beyond Aid. Talking about slogans or political campaign narratives. No. I'm talking about serious thinking, establishing beyond generations what Ghana needs to establish. As a young person who has, if you stop 10 young people on the streets and ask them, what is the vision? What is Ghana's vision? What is Ghana's dream? They don't know. Probably they will tell you their dream is to probably get visa and move out of the country.
And I can before you go on, Hadi, I can understand you. I can understand you from the standpoint of
young people want to get out of the country.
Right. I can understand you, Hadi, from the standpoint of, and again, I don't like these Western references, but at least that's the one that comes to mind now. If you think of the American dream, at least in the early, years of, or the last, 3 decades or so, and if you do your bit, you can not only survive, you can thrive. But in Ghana, what is that dream? What is that vision? I guess that's where you're headed, right?
Well, we see, I also don't like the Western references, just like you. And so when I talk about Ghanaian dream, I do not even make reference to American dream or whatever thing. I mean, I'm probably one of the biggest critics of the American system, given its foreign policy consequences for or implications for countries like Ghana and Africa and the Caribbean. But that with all the brain power, and with all the goodwill that Ghana has had over the years, it is impossible for young people of my generation to point to a vision of the country and be hopeful that once we get there, their children and their children's children will be proud of their country. And 70% of the population would not be in a hurry to acquire visas and leave the country.
Okay. So let me just bring in Doc as well quickly on this.
If you can allow me,
please do so in less than a minute, if you can.
So Ben, when I reflect on Ghana 65 years on, I am just about 32 years, less than half of that, and I am looking at and what I've learned, and I'm looking at the future, and it is clearly something that requires a lot of work to be done. And if something is not done drastically, the system that we have now, I'm afraid of what could become of this great country. And myself, for my children and my children's children, it is uncertain what sort of future that is being built for them.
Right, Doc. Let me come into you quickly on this point. So, Hadi talks about that lack of vision. Do you see that particularly in the Fourth Republic, the earlier coups and all of that? But let's focus on the Fourth Republic. Have our leaders been visionary enough, even as we contemplate whether politics has not been the bane of our development? Please unmute, Doc. Dr. Amachi Boateng, please unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was saying that if there were to have been any vision or a visionary in the Fourth Republic of Ghana, this would have been clear to Ghanaians. People would easily be pointing to that vision and would have been able to find out their role or roles in that vision.
So in effect, just to clarify, our leaders in the Fourth Republic have not been visionary or not been visionary enough.
Ben, to me, the bane of our system now is the challenge of political accountability. If politicians can come into office, get out and get away with everything they do, I mean, their inability to account for the huge amount of money they bring in, through loans. then we are in trouble. And this is, to me, the challenge. You know, people who dissipate public funds, which come out every year. And then the system, you see, some people think that we should go in for a constitutional review or even a replacement, a complete replacement of the Constitution. It is not the Constitution. The Constitution at least enables us to know, to pinpoint who is responsible for the lack of accountability and also to simply stop what appears to me to have become a norm, the rush to go to Parliament. Now, that is the most sought after place, the only place that appears to be, attractive in the economy today. There isn't any other place. And quickly, let me also address, some of the key issues that some of our colleagues have mentioned. You talk about the Arthur Kennedy thing. I agree with him, and that is the crux of the matter. We are not just interested in going out to vote for people to come in a position to deliver. If they go out there and then they are not able to deliver, what our system has demonstrated by voting them out of office has not been able to bring about any change. So once again, maybe some provisions in the Constitution.
Would you like looked at when it comes to Article 71? We know those office holders. We know the benefits, the boons they get. I mean, make the comparative, for example. We are talking about public sector workers who are getting an add-on of 7% in terms of their salaries and all of that. And you're looking at some Article 71 holders getting 70%. You look at the percentages, the benefits they get, ex gratia and all of that.
And very attractive, even when they go and do nothing. They are not affecting the life of Ghanaians. I like the Cocoa and Kose thing. We don't have these on our tables. So it's an indication of the failure of these politicians. I'm saying they don't deserve what has been captured in Article 71. We need to believe that they have what it takes to go out there and help turn the system round so that they could also benefit from their hard work, not necessarily go and then be taking a large chunk from the loans they bring into the country, and the rest of Ghanaians are left, to be on their own. And like it is coming out in our conversation, many people's desire, Parliament goes to the United States to give birth. Make me sick.
You're talking about Adwoa Safo, Sarah Adwoa Safo. Is she the one you're speaking of? The Dominic Kwabena MP?
No. If she did go out there to give birth, then she's one of the people I'm speaking of.
Right.
But I'm looking at that phenomenon. It has been many go out there to give birth. The female members go out there to give birth. I hear currently there's an MPP member of parliament who, I don't know whether she's come back or not, who went out there to give birth. They do that so their children will take up citizenship elsewhere. These people have no business being in our parliament. There's no commitment.
Give birth wherever. I mean, if it's common, that if you are even in a certain country's airspace and you're giving birth to in an aeroplane, you assume their nationality.
Ben, is a moral challenge. The moment you come out as a leader of this country, you go through all the procedures to your country. You don't think your child should be a citizen of Ghana.
Should people be banned? Should public officers be banned from doing that?
Ben, it's a moral issue. I don't think we should legislate against any such thing. But the issue is that who are these people who come for our mandate to lead us? Who are these people? Like, I'm overly exposed. Why did they go into government? Now, that will be one of the reasons, to simply enrich themselves and also to reposition themselves and that of their children, so that if Ghana should break up, then away they leave the country when they are members of the political elite. It is unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. Let me come to you, Mr. Derry. Looking at the same pot of issues, would you then say that politics, if you go to the Greek city-states, the polis and what it stood for, it appears we may be deviating from the norm. But would you then say that politics
I mean,
Mr. Derry, I'd appreciate it
it's
if you could speak up a bit more for me.
It has its ups and downs, and once I'm saying that it has its ups and downs, and as a country, once we have elected to use this. But you see, my biggest challenge as a grassroots person who is deeply rooted with the people at the community level, both at the district, the community, the regional, and even at the national. We need to recently the internal audit people came out with this, and that says that some two institutions have embezzled COVID funds. Is it the politicians? Politicians, as we all know, are responsible for passing the laws, especially the like within which we as a people or as a nation you embark upon that will bring a better outcomes for our quest for building inclusive societies. And for me, we need to unpack this animal called government. Government. Who is the government? Most of this of our trial of democracy, if we don't have this attitudinal change, this mind change, and begin to get focused on the politicians, we are not going anywhere. Yes, the politicians, but the lecturers to follow. But should anything happen in the university, will you be holding just the vice chancellor responsible? No, it is a team. And the point I'm trying to make is that we have to look at the accountability systems that we are put in place through the development partners. There's a consortium of NGOs led by CARE that is implementing what we call the Ghana Strengthening Accountability Mechanism project, together with the local government. And if you look at that particular program, the resources, be it the District Assembly Common Fund, be it the development partner support, particularly as they relate to physical infrastructure. Right. So that project is making them more to set up. So we need to look at this whole business of government and see. And my brother Adi was talking about something which I associate with. So most of the auditors general report, going campaigns, they make us to see them as a panacea to our problems. Even when our wives are going to hospital, they can support. When outdooring, they can support. So when you come and make such huge promises, raise the temperature of expectation, it becomes difficult to manage the expectation when you come to power. Okay. It's the same thing with the political parties. They campaign, and I know on one occasion, for example, Joy FM in one of the during the heat of the phenomena came up. Bernard Shaibu, who used to be there, he asked the question that the NDC was saying that they were going to tackle the Kaya phenomena by doing initiative in the north so that they would stay there. The NPP said they were going to do something in terms of social housing. So as a development person, as somebody who have worked with Kaya or children in street situation for more than 20 years, which of the two interventions is effective? And I told you people that both are very effective, because even sleeping on abandoned buildings and in front of shops like Sardine, you think social housing that will make it possible for them to be protected will not be good? Okay. If you do the preventive aspect in the north and they don't come, so you see, for me, these are the issues we should start thinking about. So sometimes the politicians raise their expectations and then have difficulty in managing them when they come. It is not just about this guy.
Urgent thoughts there that you've shared. I want to pose this question to all three of you based on something that has been sent to us on our Facebook live stream. And I just want you to react to it briefly. But I'll start with Hadi Yakubu. And Hadi, this is the message. It rubs us, the media. He says, such hogwash. He used the word I can't use on air. Ghana's media is becoming unbelievable. And I hear we've lost Hadi, so I'll address it to Doc instead. Ghana's media is becoming unbelievable. Ghana is 65, not 500 years old. Of common things Ghana has that you think are unnecessary. Our leaders are not our only problem. We are very much part of the problem. How do you address this from two angles? Do we need to be 500 years old? like some of the Western democracies before we can say we are delivering the goods of democracy? And secondly, how much are we, ordinary citizens, a part of the problem? Doc.
One, are in a position to copy from them and so avoid the mistakes that they made. You know,
You don't
Albert
reinvent the
Einstein
wheel.
advises, among other things, and also our own cultural tradition, advises us. We don't necessarily need to commit mistakes that the elderly people committed. We need to take advantage of their experiences and avoid those mistakes and make progress faster than they made. And then two, the role of the ordinary person, to me, and if somebody challenges me on that ground, I might agree. But I'm saying that the choices we make when we go into election matters. The choices we make when we go into elections matters. And so we should be mindful of the people we put up. We seem to install a person. They'll go into the background of the individual, and society might have encountered that person. And so people could bring charges and through that simply disqualify that person. I think we should be guided by some of these things for especially voting for who becomes the president of this country. Our choices matter, and that is the role we play, and I don't think we have.
Yes, yes. I think specifically the media has a role to play, and it's not just because I'm on your platform. That's what I'm saying. I think Joy FM and all your affiliate have shown the way, and very discerning people will always want to listen to media houses. But we have the people who was on the show. He talked about the role of politicians owning media houses and particularly FM stations and whatever it is. So it is actually making the media to polarize the issues, and even when something is good, it is packaged in such a way that it becomes too partisan. When something is bad, it's packaged in such a way that, I know there are some media houses I don't listen to. I don't even have the time because it irritates. And let me link it even to the creative art. Even the cleanse our morality even in the society, and more importantly, bringing everybody on board. Someone has ever said that you can use the creative industry, be it music, to cleanse the moral fiber of the society. And in the same way, you can use music and the creative art to corrupt the moral fiber of the society. Great resource. To what extent can we harness this resource to carry everybody along when it comes to issues of this project called Ghana?
Okay. So, gentlemen, as we wrap on this conversation, I'll give you 40 seconds each, and then we shall call it a conversation. What is the way forward? How do we get better in this Fourth Republic in the coming years? 40 seconds each. I'll come to you first, Mr. Derry.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I will be very brief. I think that we can get better if we get everybody on board. For example, religious institutions, they constitute a huge resource that we can take advantage of. Someone said that one thing Ghanaians have, which we are not taking advantage of, is the religious institution. He said if you go to every community, you will always see a religious institution, be it a church or a mosque. To what extent are we mobilizing? To what extent are we engaging the pastors? To what extent are the religious institutions put our differences away and then embark on this project called Ghana?
All right.
And then the training institutions, particularly the universities, and now a lot of them, because of the quest to get income, IGF, they are veering into programs and the courses that are not part and parcel of their core mandate and even what they were originally set in to do. But it's just because of the IGF.
30 seconds.
One, we need to find a way to sustain our Fourth Republic. At least it has given us a platform to engage the system and to be able to challenge some of their actions and inactions. So we need to find a way to sustain it. And then two, we need to find a way to address the issue Dr. Atta Kennedy put out, the bread and butter issue. We need to find a way to make our Fourth Republic work to produce that bread and butter. And to me, one way of achieving that is to also find a way.
Very quickly on that.
The focus should be on the. Sorry?
I'm saying very quickly on that point, please.
Yeah, the focus should be on the politicians because members of the general public whose names come out in the Auditor General's report don't themselves decide not to be held accountable. Somebody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwesi Amachi-Boateng, political scientist at the KNUST. We also had Alexis Derry, who is with the Center for Development Initiatives, as well as Hadi Yakubu, fighter general with the Economic Fighters League. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. When we return after the break, we delve into the MPP's polling station Wahala, infighting people of those issues as we host Evans Nimako, who actually is the MPP's Director of Research and Elections. All of that up next on the AM Show.